just trying to get to know you. Why you gotta feel like I owe you? Can't nobody tell me what I'm going through. Guess it's time to make adult moves. Yeah, life just move a little bit quicker to me. Young me, yo, I still ain't forgiven fully. Beating that down, yo, I been a bully. All the little motherfucker do is ridicule me. What if I can't love you? What if I don't want to? I don't got the muscle. What if I said fuck you? Every breath to my detriment. I feel the truth is so evident. I fear the drug that I get to binge on. The real me knocking won't let them in. I take the punch and regret the chin. 2 words I fear most is let's begin. What if I'm just a bad man? What if I'm just a bad man? What if I'm just a bad man? Yeah. Finding it hard to trust, defiant, my guard is up. Adulthood, just a childhood deluxe. Need a new album to play. I ain't proud of the ways I hit the same off notes like I'm proud of mistakes. Habits of survival ingrained in all these patterns and denials of pain. The inner child, they say. Well, tell me, when will mine go away? Is every good man at peace? How much time do it take? How do you heal wounds you don't remember? That's why I don't see you, just an agenda. Lonely, but got no room for you to enter. Fog gathering on the window to my soul like ain't no clever with emotions, it only can help to show them. We all trying to spark notes to my thing. I give my truth away so I don't gotta live it. And young me keeps scolding me till I forgive it. What if I'm just a bad man? What if I'm just a bad man? What if I'm just a bad man?
Good evening. What's going on, guys? Sorry for missing a couple days. Got caught up playing with some friends. And then about 2 days ago, sleeping schedule got knocked off course. Friend came down. I was helping him install some stuff on his PC. And it was giving us trouble, so we stayed up late. And it was hard to get back on schedule after that. What's going on, guys? Looks like we got some movement in the market today. Always good to talk about. Let's go ahead and switch over to the big dog. Sky Knight, what's going on, man? Thanks for showing up first. Natures, what's going on? Wiley Coyote, he said, boo, I gotta go to bed. Sorry about that, man. Just kind of the schedule right now. When I can find time to jump on and say hi, that's when I'm gonna do it. And just unfortunately, that's the time we got right now. Master, Yurt, what's going on? Rodrigo, what's going on, man? Sky Knight, when Kite Cam? When I get my hair cut, I think I'll put in the time and effort to figure out where it's at in the first place. I looked for it the other night, but I gave up pretty quickly. Hey Kite, glad to catch your live stream tonight. What's going on, William? William to William. What's going on, man? All right. We do have some movement in the chart. All right. Now, you guys know my original plan. All right, I'm going to go ahead and mark it out for you. So, we are currently short from our macro position, which, I mean, you know, give or take a couple bucks, pretty much exactly right here. My stop loss is 1.5%. I believe it's like 11. Yeah, like 11,880. Yeah, pretty much. Maybe a little bit more. It's hard to get it exact. But we are getting pretty close to my stop. I don't know if I have to double check the exchange, but I don't think I've been stopped out yet. But my original plan is I'm currently short off of the macro ABC. And I do expect, now obviously this is kind of at a pivotal point here. We definitely could continue. And then the next option would be is pay attention to this level here. If we get another opportunity to short, just at a little bit higher price point, because it definitely could be a fake out. We could just be retesting that previous resistance and then topple over. Now my expectation, obviously this is not set in stone. All right, these are just my thoughts. Is that we are probably going to get rejected here. And then we're going to fold over and more than likely come back down to retest this previous low here at about 100,005. All right, now obviously if we get the lower low, that would create a ABC structure off of this, and then that will be my long hedge position. All right, so if that comes to fruition, that is where I'm going to be longing from. And that's a pretty significant structure if we get something like that. All right, at that point, it's really whoever holds the resistance or support is going to determine whether or not we can push much further or continue to the downside. Now, like I said, there's no issue on either side. Now, obviously, is it a little bit of a situation if we do just kind of blast off here? Yeah, I do have spot, but I don't have any longs open. The last long that we had was from down here, A to B to C. And with the macro ABC short position opening up and then us creating the minor time frame longing ABCs, which the structure itself I just didn't like. It was a personal preference. We exited the long position right here at 106.66, but I did not enter a new one. This just looked way too thin to me in order for us to just continue past this major resistance. It just didn't seem like it was ready. Now, I mean, if we look, back here, for example, we did just blow through it, but we're in a much, much further state in the market than we were back here. This was months and months of cooking. This is one simple retest. So if it happens, it happens. It's not my expectation. And I'll try to figure out some sort of way to play into it. But if not, I'll just kind of be on the sidelines and let the spot lead the way, and just be patient. Because other than that entry, there was nothing really within this trend here to kind of grab onto. I mean, if you wanted to play the super small time frames, we did have this one. But like I said, in comparison to the structures that we had, it just wasn't calling my name. It wasn't there. So we'll see how this goes. Like I said, stop loss for me on my short position is at 11,880. And then obviously waiting to see if we do get a rejection. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Did it put in? No, Ethereum hasn't put in its higher high yet. Because obviously we're waiting to see if we can get the higher high off of 2,790. But I would like this to cut deeper to the downside in order to form like an actual B wave. Because this to me just doesn't look... I mean, obviously if it's there, it's there. But it just doesn't look like it's shaped up yet. Litecoin. Ooh, actually Litecoin didn't have that bad of an ABC structure towards the end there. I mean, this is on a zoomed out chart here. So, I mean, I kind of missed that. But then again, like I said, I'm not necessarily expecting. Actually, I could take that back because I mean, Litecoin's got the A to B, so Litecoin looks like it wants to travel here. Litecoin looks like it wants to come back up and put in that structure. So if that's an indication of what might happen on the other coins, then we might have some room to run here. Now, if we do happen to have a breakout, say, of Bitcoin, am I necessarily expecting like the run? Am I expecting 170K? My expectation is no, but then the if this and that statements are entirely different. If we are above this macro resistance, there is nothing telling us that we can't go to such and such number. Now, obviously, do we have a certain amount of steam in the tank? That's to be determined, but technically, we can go anywhere. Within reason, of course. But like I said, my expectation is this is a retest. I could eat my words on that. But that's what I'm thinking. Now, of course, which way it wants to work out, we can have our ideas as a trader, but we can not ignore when stuff happens. Like I said, nothing screamed. There was the ABC long here, and obviously Litecoin put in the tiny one here, which was actually a really good entry. Like, it didn't bounce back or give you much fuss. And we were also looking at XMR. Now, the only issue is I looked at LBank, I looked at Femex, and unfortunately, none of them seem like they can trade XMR anymore, which to me is kind of weird because they're kind of like outside the jurisdiction of like where most places would prefer them not to deal with XMR. But then you got Kraken, which is a US exchange, which freely allows you to buy XMR. So, I mean, the only option I really had was spot on XMR, but that was a option I'm looking at, or was looking at. The problem is that there's no strong ABCs in price discovery. It depends on what you mean. Like, if you mean like the really, really short-term bursts, yeah, sure. But to say that there's no ABCs in price discovery is kind of wrong to me. It's obviously a much larger time frame. But like, you think about like when we were back here during this bull market. Let me go to a bigger time frame here. But like, before any of this existed over here on the right side, this was all price discovery. I mean, the entire time going up here, we had A to B to C. We had A to B. I know this is obviously, if I was to cut down to a smaller time frame, it is here. I do remember this one. A to B to C, A to B to C. I'm just obviously on a daily chart, so it doesn't look that fantastic, but they were all there. Now, like in the first phase of the bull market, sure. You know, when we first got past this all-time high, the really only option you had was to take the breakout trade. So, like, every time we set up a resistance, you would buy the new one, and then you would wait for the second one, buy the breakout of the new one, and you just kept doing it over and over again. But to me, none of this screams aggressive bull market. Like, if we really had the pressure cooked up, it would have been a while back where this would have like really started moving. And I mean, if you look at it as its entirety, we did just fine. Is it what people want? No. But to me, like, if we got a little bit longer stretch here to maybe like 130 or something, then I don't see this as a failure. Like, the whole purpose of Bitcoin, like, in the mathematics behind it, is to just push higher. Because it's a deflationary asset, it has to push higher if the value is even maintained, you know, a little bit in terms of like the interest in it. So as long as we are pushing higher, to me, it's a success. you know, long gone are the days where we're, seeing these gigantic leaps. But I'm sure like I said, to me, I just think that the things that we used to expect every cycle might take 1, 2, or even 3 cycles in the future to kind of cook up that pressure. It's like a volcano, and it just needs time. And like I said, this one, I think we're starting to first see the signs that pond is getting a little bit too big. And what used to cause a major effect in the past is now dwindling. So, to me, I think we're doing just fine. Show the dog proof of life. You'll get it soon. You'll get it soon. He is alive. He's fat and happy. He gets Benadryl every single day because he's a little itchy boy. He's got allergies because he's a little mutt. But I take care of him. Crypto Andrew, what's going on, man? He said, we back. I long to ETH myself at 26.21. Is that the ABC entry? 26. Oh, a little bit past it, but within margin. Well, you were a little bit up there, but I much would have rather even like I caught the 2470. Because I mean, if you're gonna play the smaller time frames, you might as well do it off the structures, right? So mostly long ABCs on smaller time frames to catch the impulses on price discovery. Yeah, like I said, I mean, if it's been cooking and we got some major momentum behind us, there is no shame in breakout trading. Like I said, the way the market's been acting the last year or so, even if we do get a nice breakout, is it going to continue in a way that's going to be meaningful and allow you to really make the most out of it? That's the issue here. Now, back in like 2019, it was a really different story. We had stupid amounts of momentum. We had interest cuts. We had so many things going for us that just taking the breakout trades that were set up upon the rejections of the continuation of the bull market, I mean, really made a lot of money. But we had so much momentum that it was really hard to mess that up. So me personally, I don't think I'm going to be playing it that way. Even if we do get a nice, burst of the upside here, I really don't see it like going, all the way up here. Probably somewhere, I would probably expect somewhere around here. Like if we're really going to go to the upside. But we do have a lot of short pressure here. Like I said, we have the gigantic ABC short, and then even if we do extend a little bit further, we have another one to deal with. So we have to clear these two resistances without falling back below in any short period of time in order to really be effective and actually see price really push to a new boundary. Turn on my air conditioner. It's getting way too hot in here. Yeah. I mean, Twixie, like, to answer your question, like, it doesn't mean that you won't find short ABCs. It's just obviously when you're in an aggressive bull market, you don't really want to pay attention to the smaller ones, but obviously any bigger ones that pop up. So like when this one first came up, this would be a red flag. This would be an opportunity. When this one came up, that would be an opportunity. And then when this one came up, that would be an opportunity. And obviously the final one is what worked out. So, I mean, the whole thing is like, yeah, you're going to get like this one. I think we just blew right past it. Like that one didn't even get an entry, maybe on the smaller time frames for a hot second. And then obviously this one was a little bit of a rocky road, you know, up to a certain point. But then beyond that, obviously you hit that one and you ride it all the way down, and then you get another opportunity on a long position. So are you going to lose out a little bit here? Sure. But then you hit the big one, you follow it down, you get all your money back, plus some, re-enter the new trade, money back, over and over again. Best loser wins. BK, good morning or good evening. Quick question. How do you know if you're trading the BTC ABC upwards at 103K is worth doing the trade or skipping? The BTC, the original one? You said the BTC upward at 103K is worth. Is there something on the smaller time frames I'm not seeing here? At 103K. Oh, you're talking about the bullish ABC. So to me, I'm not like, the thing is that it's in the eye of the beholder. All right. This is not like a simple process of, you know, this is exactly what you enter on. To me, it's an ABC. All right. That is not the debate. All right. I'm not saying that this is like an invalid structure. All right. From a smaller time frame, I mean, it looks nice, but for me, the problem wasn't the actual structure itself. It's very valid. You have an incredible entry point. It would have paid off, but I was just thinking in a swing state. All right. For me, because I'm focusing on larger trades nowadays, I'm looking at that as a versus. Is that something that I think is going to overpower my original short trade? And then when you zoom out from this perspective, it's easy for me to say no. Right? You look at the size of this structure here, A to B to C, and then you look at the long trade that is versing it. Now, if, like I said, I mean, if this was, you know, a little bit larger here, I would feel way more comfortable entering that long trade and holding on to it. Now, if I was to be in this long trade, the smaller one that you mentioned, me personally, I would probably be from a scalp account perspective. I would probably be taking profit if we got back to the resistance of the macro, because you can't really bet, you know, a high percentage that it's going to surpass that resistance. So obviously think of resistances in terms of ranges. Obviously we use straight lines because that's what is best for our human mind and our entries, but it's more of like a pocket. It's a zone. So yes, technically from like a simple perspective, are we above that resistance at the current moment? Sure. But like we're kind of within the error of margin, the region where it has an effect. So to me, I just didn't want to take the entry and have it be a null and void. That's all. It's another thing to keep track of, and I had a feeling that I was kind of going to do a little bit of back and forth here. And obviously things don't always work out the way that I think they're going to work out. That's part of being a trader. But just from the years of doing ABCs and just looking at the size of the structure, in terms of a hedge position against the macro short, it didn't really feel like it was going to pop off and that this was going to be the bottom to lead us to 130K. Could it be? Absolutely. Like it's there's no absolutes when I talk about things, but just from like my experience, it's just a lower chance. That's all it is. Saying. Hey, Kite. Hey, Saying. How you doing? Said ETH going for 2770. Yeah, 2790 is the number I'm looking for. If we if we put in the higher high there, you know, technically I'm comfortable saying that it's an A to a B. Like I said, the B wave doesn't feel like it's done. So to me, like, is this a valid structure? Sure. But like, once again, like, it just doesn't feel like it should unless we extend this out a little bit. If we extend this out a little bit, then yeah, that starts feeling like a more ready structure to continue pushing. Now, a lot of the times when bullish people hear me talk about me wanting these larger structures to the downside, it's not that they take it offensively, that like I'm rooting against their trades. And in all reality, I'm not. We all want the same thing. We want $1 million Bitcoin. We want $1 bajillion Bitcoin. Bitcoin go up, Bitcoin good. But in order for me to be excited, I need to feel safe. All right. So when you have these straight shots of price action to the upside, you're not building any support. So the second anything happens in the market that makes it falter, you come right back down to where you were. So if we take the time to build these supports, these well-placed local lows that are thick, that give signs of support to other traders, we have a more likelihood that if we ever came back down here, we would hold that level, aka go lower, but push higher over time. So when I'm asking, asking the universe or whatever for these lower lows, it's not me being a bear and being your adversary. It's your long-term partner. But obviously I'm looking for a larger picture. You think Litecoin will get back to all-time high, or is that coin done? I mean, like, can I say for certain? No. Now, my thought, it's going to take a bit. Like, if Bitcoin's now in slow mode, you have to expect everything else to be in slow mode as well. So, one, that's going to be better for the coins that are worth their salt. It's going to be really bad for the meme coins because they have nothing to stand on. Meme coins stand on hype. And hype typically comes from the market moving as a whole thanks to Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin's moving slowly and having huge drawbacks over the course of time, people aren't going to be that interested because the markets, those altcoins aren't really going to do anything special. Now, for things like altcoin, like Litecoin and Ethereum, long term it would be good, but short term it's not. It's going to take a while. Now, if we look at this as a whole, all right, what we want to see in order for like long-term structural growth out of Litecoin is we need to surpass this resistance here, use it as support. That will signal to the market that Litecoin is in a healthy state, and then we might be able to go back and retest the all-time high. Now, what I'm relating this to is the NASDAQ in 2008. NASDAQ in 2008 looks exactly how Litecoin looks right now, like to the T. Like I'll do this real quick and I'll go and I'll show you. Now, I'm talking about NASDAQ, the company. I'm not talking about the actual US 100. But for me, it's a really good example of ABCs during recessions. Where the hell is the actual like marker tool? Oh, there it is. All right. So we created the ABC to the downside during the bear market. And you can see how we used it as resistance. We had a nice ABC in that wave, used as resistance. We had a nice ABC in this wave, used as resistance. Market tried to push past it, showed signs of life. That's what's important. So we got past it once. Then what happened? All right. I want you to look at the difference in the market. So, I mean, like long term, like we're starting to shape up into a healthier market, in my opinion, just based on the chart. So you can see how the first 2 times that we came up to retest that previous local low, the previous support, you can see how it was a very clear and decisive rejection. We came up, ABC tried to push past it. Nope, fell back down. Caught support, came back up, clear and concise. ABC tried to push past it. Nope, fell back down. Now this time, same resistance, but we got much further. And look at the difference in the downward structures. All right. This one, downward structure, downward structure. This one probably got an ABC, but almost by luck. It's not like an actual structured ABC that was like probably like within the chart pattern that was supposed to happen. Kind of just looks like a dead wick that happened to form the ABC out of pure luck. All right, looks like an outlier. Now this one was getting closer, but much thinner. All right, remember how I say the thinner the ABC is, the more likely that it's not as powerful. But then you look at the resistance break on this one, but then look at this downside structure. Look how thick this boy is. All right, very thick boy. Now this one again, like this. Okay, so you guys know me, I do like to use wicks, but when you see something this large that looks abnormal compared to everything else, even to these ones over here, this one looks quite abnormal. Is it within range? Of course, but I think it did extend a little bit farther than it probably needed to. So just for the sake of it, I'm going to call that an outlier. All right. So to me, this is the true structure here. All right. Now, technically, we do have that as an option, but that looks like what was honestly going to happen. And then something probably triggered that. It was a momentary setback. It didn't last very long. It was a very small blip. But for all intents and purposes, the averages, like if I turn off wicks here, because Hakanishi uses averages, you can see the averages tell a much different story. So to me, it does look healthy. Now, is that to say that we don't have more time down here? No. But just looking at the chart structure and looking at what it's doing, it looks fantastic. All right, because we have previous support that turned into resistance, but now we're starting to see signs that the armor is wearing down, and then that the bolstering support of the market is getting stronger and stronger with each rejection. All right, you can tell that just by the lows here. All right, so you know, if I go and I look at the NASDAQ index, or not the index, but the actual company itself, and we go back and we look at 2008. All right, look what happened. All right, we had the ABC to the downside in 2008. So that created our support level. Now, once again, like with ABCs that are that gigantic, I mean, we're looking at, you know, a year-long ABC. All right. You do have to be careful to the upside, at least. With downside, things tend to happen a lot quicker. So usually you don't hang around the top for too long. All right. If the market's going to reject, it's going to reject, and people are going to get scared and they're going to sell out. And we tend to move away from that resistance pretty quickly. But with supports, people are much more hesitant, especially after getting burnt, to put their money back in. So they are very ultra careful. So trying to play this level as an actual entry is not going to be your best bet. You're going to be looking at it from a macro perspective and then looking at these smaller time frame entries to possibly figure out when to go ahead and get into the market. Now, obviously, with something like this, you probably wouldn't be longing like on leverage. You're probably looking at it from a spot perspective. So you would actually be like, once enough time has passed and you start to see the market shape up, All right, then you might be able to go ahead and, you know, play it with a little bit larger stop loss, where even though you might get stopped down maybe once or twice, you're not going to get completely burnt. And obviously you have the rest of your life to look forward to on that. All right, so you can see how the market is reacting in a very similar way to Litecoin. All right, so we created that line of resistance. We came up, and we're just using it as resistance, We finally break through. We start creating the support, and then finally things start to improve. All right, but it's all broken down from this simple 4-lined pattern, creating a very simple support and resistance and what you want to see in order to see improvement in the market. Now, like, if I didn't think that the US had the capability to just like continue propping up a fake currency, you know, through interest rate cuts and all that kind of stuff, I would say we're done. I mean, quite frankly, you look at just the long-term growth here as a, you look at this as your B. Obviously, did we put in the lower low? No. But then you look at this as your C. All right, so we have the long-term ABC. And then within the C wave, we have created the ABC for the top, but we have not confirmed it. But we're within margin of error, right? So if I had to put a bet, we're looking at some sort of substantial crash here soon. Now, obviously, the golden goose of all this is that, once again, like, if you want a strong uptrend, you need to create these local lows that can be used as a support in case something happens. And I mean, we've done that. You know, we have here, and then we have the COVID dump. So we do have two very strong support regions, you know, and obviously we'd probably be, you know, if we ever fell back down here, we would be using the previous resistance as hopefully a newfound support, but we can't really count on that. We can only really count on what has shown to be support. So, I mean, obviously, like, are the news channels going to be like, the biggest recession ever? Yeah, but like, we have, like, we know exactly where we're going to fall to. So, like, if you take the mystique out of it, it's no longer scary. Like, sure, will things get a little bit tight for a little bit? Sure, but like, if you can budget correctly, if this does happen, and these are the opportunities you get to reinsert money back into the S&P 500 and all that kind of stuff, once this dust settles, more than likely, it's just going to be a continuation of what it's been for the last 20 years, which is up, because that's how inflationary currencies work. So most of the value is wiped out in these recessions. But if you can see it coming, well, the probability of it coming, like if we come back down below that resistance, and you know where we're more than likely going to find support, even if it is, you know, an A to a B to a C, you know, like this, and maybe we come down a little bit further, but, you know, that's where the majority of the market's going to end up in the future, kind of hovering around that range until we finally find some sort of platform to continue from. That's where your retirement money comes from. While everybody else is dumbfounded and blaming Trump or AAA loans or this or that or this or that, you can look at it from a very simple perspective and say, like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and maybe sell off some of my stuff here because this just doesn't look healthy to me. And then if we do happen to see something like this come into place, you saved yourself a ton of potential for the future. So much time and effort and extra money over the course of 10 years, what we found just from that single move. All right, because you think about, like, the people that have, like, pension funds or mutual funds, who just kind of deposit, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you got like a Roth IRA and you're just depositing money brainlessly as a avenue of retirement, that's one thing. But like if it's your sole proprietor of how you plan on to retire, you do need to take some action if you have some in-depth level of knowledge of a chart. And in-depth is a very shallow word when we're talking about how we're looking at it. But you think about how long this downtrend could last, considering the one in 2008 lasted a year. All right, imagine you built up $40,000 into your Roth IRA over the course of 15, 20 years. You're 40 years old. And then it takes 50% of your money being wiped out. Now you're down to 20,000. And you're sitting around that level for a year. And then it takes another year and a half, 2 years for the market to return back to the same point. You missed out on 3 years of growth. But if you go ahead and you maybe take a little bit of a hit on your fees, you go ahead and sell off. Then down here, you buy it back. You saved yourself 50%. And now to the upside, you have almost 100%. So over the course of those 3 years, while other people are waiting to even get back to where they were, you're now double what you were off of a single trade. Well, I guess 2 trades, a buy and a sell. But that's my whole point, is if you just break it down to a simple perspective, you don't have to make it complicated. These small decisions are what makes the big picture. It's not all these micro trades and these micro decisions and all that kind of stuff. It's the big picture and how you react to the market and how it looks. And that's going to determine whether or not you're going to succeed long term and have a retirement in the first place. Now, obviously, like there's, I'm talking to people here like you guys that know how to look at a chart. So for me, it's not harsh for me to say that like, if you mess up, it's on you. Now, I feel like if you're just like a blue collar worker and you do the due diligence of even setting up a Roth IRA for retirement, at that point, you're just kind of brute forcing it. And yeah, you're going to get by. But if you have the understanding and you don't do anything, then that's an issue. What is the significance that LTC brings to the market? Do you think LTC brings value like it's ETH with smart contracts, or is it something else that people value with LTC? For me, I really like LTC as a transactional currency. Like my go-tos are usually XRP or Litecoin. Like if I can't use one or the other, it's kind of hard for me to like want to move money around. But like it's so cheap and fast. So, I mean, Litecoin, it's kind of like Bitcoin. Like, what does Bitcoin offer? Or, like, obviously it's come a long way, but it's more of the history. It's stable. We know it works. It's cheap. I think that's what Litecoin offers. It's just a good backbone. It's pennies to the dollar. Is it replaceable? Sure. Everything's replaceable. But never once have I, wanted to transfer money from like Bybit and I used Ethereum to send it to Coinbase. Never once. One, because Coinbase only allows the actual ETH network, which gas fees are ridiculous. Like even now, like, if I wanted to send, $50, I'm going to end up paying $20 in gas fees. Now, I know on some, like on L Bank, for example, I can do it in Optimum, and Optimum's only like $1, but that's entirely different. If I have the option to use Optimum or a different chain that is much cheaper, then sure, I'll use that. But once again, like, as I've gone further and further in my years, I no longer am, just looking at the market from like a value perspective, but just from a chart perspective. because it helps me break down the R&R, and I really it just de-stresses me to just look at a chart. I don't have to worry about founders. I don't have to worry about this or that. I just have to worry about a chart. And the majority of the time, there's an option in the chart for me to save money or make money. Plain and simple. Or lose a small amount, which might happen coming up here very shortly. Because if we go... Did I already get stopped out? Hold on, let me check my phone. I have not been stopped out yet. Because L Bank is actually a little bit behind. Actually, a decent bit behind, to be honest with you. L Bank is actually on a downturn. Well, this chart here is actually on an upturn. Interesting to see. Is that Bitcoin dominance? No, that's CMEs. Okay. Yeah, CMEs are going to be a bit different than most charts. Had me scared for a second. Man, talking LTC got me feeling all nostalgic. Yeah, man, it's an OG for a reason. I mean, I don't ever see it going to zero. I can't really say for certain that it's going to go back to its all-time high, but like if we look at the market structure from like a macro perspective, we can see the steps being put in place for the market to find stabilization and then possibly go for the retest and maybe even extension. And that's what a market is there for. And I you know, obviously at the end of the day, we all love when the market just goes up. It makes us feel good. Obviously we make money, but at the end of the day, what you really want to see from a healthy market is retests, building of support, confirmation, because it's really evaluating the price of an asset and what it's worth. And then when we confirm that and we move past those zones, it gives me more confidence. And I'm sure it gives more confidence to the people that want to put in actual money. I'm talking millions, billions, whatever it might be. They like to see that stuff. Now, obviously, when something's brand new, of course it can go straight up. And this was the first retest, and obviously we didn't surpass it, so things were a little bit more hesitant this time around. People probably lost interest, but when we start building support and we start making headway, people's interest will come back. So I don't think this is the end of Litecoin whatsoever. I mean, we're putting in higher lows over time. So, I mean, like, even if we just followed that curve, eventually we would be at that point. John G. How are you doing, John G? Have we ABC'd on viewership yet? Technically, we did, yeah. I'm very curious if I can game YouTube analytics, because the viewership always does an ABC, either a large or a small one here, and then it fades out. So I wonder if I can game the analytics by like ending my stream whenever that point comes, in order to like increase the algorithmic chances of like it being recommended to other people because of like retention time and viewership. But wouldn't that be cool? That like, even though, and it's so crazy to see that, because like you think like on a chart, okay, ABCs work, but then viewership for a channel, and you can see, look, we even retested 24, 20. We put in a local low at 17. We retested the resistance at 24. And if we don't break the resistance, well, then it's going to keep falling. Go to bed. You sound silly. No, you sound silly. With your big naturals. Awooga. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, we're at that point now. So, I mean, we're going to get some sort of resolution within like the next 24 to 48 hours, whether or not this is going to be a rejection or continuation. But obviously my bet is definitely on rejection, but we'll see. Like I said, I mean, if we do happen to get rejected here, I don't think it's the end of the world for bulls. I think going back down and then putting in this local low here actually opens up a huge opportunity. Because even if we do continue a push and then somehow, you know, have a little bit of a tipsy whipsy back down, well, then we could be caught on that local low, you know, and maybe even build a larger one and just continue this kind of like ongoing succession of consolidation, expansion, and then maybe we got one more in the tank. It's like, if we plot it out like this, it's definitely looking like it's starting to run out here. All right, definitely looking like it's starting to run out. But like, let's say we got one more in the tank. I think that one probably is it. Like if we saw something like that. Obviously, like, you can extend this pattern, make it a little bit larger, and maybe we do hit a little bit higher number here, you know, with a little bit larger secondary ABC after this push here. But, you know, if you expand that out, it definitely is starting to look like that folding over top. And then probably, you know, if we push that high, then I'll probably call the bull market start at about 50K. Maybe a wick down to like 39. All right, I think we'll start signing off here. If anybody's got any more questions, any coins, anything, let me know. Got about 5 minutes. Just wanted to keep it under an hour. So I'm trying to build a rust base. Trying to get a farm going. Just have something peaceful to work on. I haven't taken a look at Cardano in a while. What's Cardano doing? Oh, that sucks. That sucks a lot. I mean, okay. So once again, we have kind of like this ridiculous wick to the downside. That definitely looks like an outlier. So like even if we wanted to look at this from a different perspective and say like maybe here, all right, kind of caught a little bit of the wick. I mean, that looks like the ABC to me. And then we have boom, boom, boom. That was your entry point. Now the only issue is we have an A to a B to a C. That's kind of working its way here. And then who's to say that that might not cause a bigger effect in the market going forward. DXY is putting in a bullish ABC structure on the smaller time frame. It's at least, I feel like it's at least going to retest. Because I mean, on the 1 hour time frame, you have the smaller ABC, which is going to cause the price to come up. And obviously on the daily time frame, you have the gigantic macro bullish ABC, so it's going to surpass that support. Then we'll probably come back up and retest somewhere up here. And then it'll probably come back up and retest this resistance. And if we confirm this gigantic bearish ABC to the downside, then I think we might have some room on Bitcoin for another actual explosive bull market. SPY has the ABC top here. Does look like it's slowing down a bit, so we might actually be able to fold over and confirm that. What about the US 100? I'm sure it looks pretty much exactly similar to that, but we'll see. Yeah, kinda. We're putting in the ABC top there. It's looking like it's starting to do the triple top fold over. Where it's going to come back down and retest, I don't quite know. Or if it even will. But all right. With that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and sign up for tonight. I appreciate everybody showing up. At least we got some decently exciting price action to talk about with the couple days that I missed there. But, I'm going to try to keep up. It's probably going to be late night streams for a while until I can figure something out. But I appreciate you guys. Everybody that sticks in there with my inconsistency. But nonetheless, the market is still kicking, and we can still make decent choices despite that. Right. Like I said, my stop loss is at 11,880. If that gets hit, we either need to come back down below. What's this number here? 109,265. I'll probably re-enter the short again. If not, if we do push a little bit higher, obviously that opens up the opportunity to short at 11,950 or 111,950. And I'll be going ahead and taking that short position. And if we just blast off to the upside, there's nothing really for me to do except for kick back and wait to see what other opportunities exist in the future. But yeah, I appreciate you guys very much. Let's go ahead and sign off for tonight. Which one is my... That's the starting one. All right, so... Bye!